What's up, everybody? It's your boy Aaron here, along with Ray, for another episode of Franchise Tag Fantasy Football Podcast. Ray's doing his same stuff as always. We are actually recording on Father's Day today, so happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Ray, yourself is included in that. So today we're going to be covering the NFC South. That is what we're doing. Divisional breakdown still. We're in the NFC South. So we'll cover those four teams. It should be pretty action-packed and fun-filled for divisional breakdowns. I think Ray and I are both just a little bit tired of them, but we're going to power through. I know you guys might be a little tired of them as well. And with that, Ray, I kind of want to start off with a question. We always start off with a question. You normally do it, but this week I kind of want to do it. I'm going to bring it a little bit back to the fantasy football side of the house. Are you ready for the question?
Do it. Send it.
All right. Who is the all-time fantasy football points leader? Scoring points. Who scored the most points in fantasy football all time?
Tom Brady?
Good.
Is that a good guess?
It's correct. Last year, he just surpassed Jerry Rice for total points scored. He scored 5,164.4 points from the year 2000 to present.
It's got to be, dude's been playing since dinosaurs were still around, so.
That's fair. And Jerry Rice is in second from 85 to 2005 with 5,141.8.
You got to think about it, though. Like, if you're playing 20-plus years, it's going to be pretty hard to not be somewhere on that list. Like, I was like, did Morton Anderson? He's got to be on the list, too. Morton Anderson, the kicker, got to be on that list.
Let me look.
Because he played for 23 years. You don't have to. It's okay. He's a kicker.
Oh, no,
it
he's
doesn't
not.
matter.
He's
Kickers
not
don't matter.
That's very, 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 very fair. Yeah, man, there's quite a few people on this list. LaDainian Tomlinson's a lot lower than I thought he would be.
I would have thought he was in the top 10, honestly.
No, well, he only played 11 years. I mean, he's a running back, so of course.
True.
Do you know? Here's a bonus question. Do you know who averaged the most points throughout a season all time?
Adrian Peterson.
Incorrect. It was Peyton Manning with the 13 Broncos at 33 points a game.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little shocked by that. I thought I had 2 for 2 right now. Let me tell you.
No. Yeah, but the 33 points a game for Peyton Manning on the 2013 Denver Broncos averaged the most points. I don't think it was by very much, but that's the highest average up for a season. But anyways, fun-filled question. I'm really kind of it's too easy. I set the bar too low, didn't I?
A little bit, yeah. That's why I come in with the hot stuff, man.
All right, I set the bar too low. Next time I'll read.
The next one I got is gonna be the high heat. That's
high heat.
That's the one you want to take, yard. The high heat. Tomahawk that ball.
I don't want to tomahawk the ball though. I like them when they're kind of low. I like to be able to get up under them.
Just hit the ball. That's all you gotta do. Just hit the ball. That's all I want you to do.
I crank them.
All right, so let's get into this breakdown because I'm so over these breakdowns. It's not even funny. But let me tell you, Aaron had to drag me out of bed virtually. All right, so you want to start with the Falcons, or do you want me to start with the Falcons?
The Falcons. They've been a topic of conversation these past couple weeks, obviously, with the Julio trade. They got a second and a fifth back for Julio. Ridley, to me, gets a little bit of an uptick. He was already really good with Julio on the field, too. You know what I mean? But I think last year with Julio off the field, he averaged 2 more targets a game. I think it totaled up to be like 5 point something more fantasy points a game when Julio was off the field, which is actually quite a bit of fantasy points for just the 2 extra targets.
Yeah.
And it completely shatters, as we talked about before, my Kyle Pitts take for the beginning of the year, because I made that prediction with Julio on the field for the Falcons. He is not. So I do think Kyle Pitts gets a little bit of an uptick. However, I do still feel like his pass blocking and blocking capabilities kind of pull him down a little bit. And Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
And Hayden Hurst stays on the field more than fantasy managers want to see him on the field.
So I don't think that it does suck that we had such sharp takes against Kyle Pitts because Julio not being there does definitely bump him up. But I'm gonna just reiterate it again, just so that everybody can hear it again. Evan Ingram is a similar archetype to what Kyle Pitts is coming in. They're the same kind of guy, not a blocking tight end, but a vertical threat, somebody that's going to be pushing the ball down the field. I'm gonna say it just so that it's known. He had the best rookie tight end finish that has ever happened in the NFL, ever. And he finished at 5. Do you remember the point difference between 5 and 1 from last season? Was it 100?
As far as overall tight ends?
Yes, from Travis Kelce to TJ Hawkinson. It was 130
stupid.
points or something like that. That's like a whole nother person. That's a whole nother tight end 5 right there. He was almost double that. So I'm just going to go ahead and say Kyle Pitts is a great pick to have if you're going to have, let's say, a dynasty rookie draft if you haven't already had him. Great pick to get. Great guy to go after. Great tight end to target. If it's in a redraft, I'm staying away from Kyle Pitts still. I still don't want it because
if it's in a redraft,
unless it fell that way.
Yeah, if it's in a redraft and he drops to 8, 9, 10, I might take the shot on it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. If you already have the first 4 tight ends gone off the board, let's say the top 3. Let's start there. Let's say Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, George Kittle. Those guys are gone, and Kyle Pitts is still on the board. Maybe Mark Andrews falls off the board. Okay, Kyle Pitts is still there. Maybe if you had like Robert Tonyan or TJ Hawkinson, I think that's the next tier. I'm still going to take those guys over Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has to be around where the Logan Thomases would still be in the draft for me to be like, okay, let me take a shot on Kyle Pitts over Logan Thomas.
So with this, just because this brings me to my point, just because like those tight ends that you're talking about are off the board, and say that you're in the 7th or 8th round and everyone's off the board, including Kyle Pitts, Logan Thomas, whoever, and everyone else is taking a tight end, don't think you have to take a tight end right there. At that point in time, just punt it and take one of the few tight ends remaining with, your 13th, 14th pick right before you pick kickers and defenses, and essentially just stream tight ends at that position, because you're going to get better flyer picks in those 9 through 12 rounds, so the next 3 to 4 rounds, than you are of just taking whatever tight end is available at that point in time. Because like you said, literally from Travis Kelce to who finished 5th last year?
TJ Hawkinson.
TJ Hawkinson. It was 130 odd points or whatever. So you're not going to make those points up on a tight end in that round for sure. So go ahead and pick someone that you think you're going to take a flyer on, like a Michael Carter, or you probably don't want me to say this name, but I'll say it, a Laviska Shenault, if he goes down that low, things like that.
Keep that name on the low. Keep that name on
keep
the
it
low.
on the keep it on the hush hush.
Don't be telling your friends about Laviska. Don't do that.
But I agree. I would take Kyle Pitts if I don't have a tight end at that point in time. Anywhere between, I might start looking at him at the 7th, depending on the draft and what other teams have tight ends, because I do think you can get some value back for him. But I don't know entirely, depending on your team in the round.
Let me give you a little more context, just because I think that this will kind of sell my take on, and it sucks because I think Kyle Pitts will be a good tight end in the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's going to be this year. You got way too much to learn this year, and being relied on too much, I think, because that offense is anybody else but Calvin Ridley. So if you looked at the tight end 5 to the tight end 10, you're looking at a difference between TJ Hawkinson and Jimmy Graham. I think that was like 80 points, maybe, from 5 to 10. I think it was. You can actually look at the show doc. But I just want to make sure that it's known that if you have the tight end 5 to the tight end 10, your point differences aren't that massive. Whereas the point difference from 1 to 5 is huge.
5 to 10 was 15 points.
Well, it's way off. It's not even 50. It's 15 points. That's nothing. That's one game.
1 to 5 was 99.
Wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wild. Now you look at the difference between Travis Kelce and TJ Hawkinson.
That's what I'm saying. It's 99, 200, but it's 100 points, 208 points to 108 points.
Yeah. I just kind of temper your expectations of Kyle Pitts just a little bit. Unless you're in a dynasty rookie draft, which I know that there's some out there that haven't happened yet. And if that's the case, yeah, there's going to be a few dynasty leagues that haven't drafted yet. If that's the case, I'm all for it because eventually you're going to get a good tight end eventually. Yeah. And as you just heard, the tight end landscape is buns, trash.
Yeah, there's like 3 to 4 people consistently on average. And then after that, the other, 7 to 10 teams.
You don't even want to say, you can't even say like the next 4 guys that got a tight end after the big 4 are gone. Are you happy with that? You're definitely not happy with the 9th and 10th tight end on the season. You're not happy with Jimmy Graham giving you 100 points on the season. That's butt.
You're not happy if you drafted the number 9 finishing tight end on the season in the 5th or 6th round when someone grabbed the number 8th tight end finishing on the season in the 12th. To put in perspective.
Yeah, it's just after the big 4, big 3, big 4, you're not getting any value off of it. And I just wanted to make sure that was said about the Falcons and about Kyle Pitts. Now, I will say that if you can get Mike Davis, let's say,
I'm comfortable taking him in the end of the 6th.
See, I think that's just a little high. I'd like him to fall to me in the 7th. I would like that. That's in a perfect world. I'd like that.
He's not going
in the 7th at least, because you can get value in the 6th. You value. I bet ETN's in the 6th. I bet ETN's in the 6th.
I would take Mike Davis over Travis Etienne.
Ooh. Okay.
Simply not because I think he's a better running back, but simply because Mike Davis is the clear-cut 3-down back in Atlanta.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
And I think Atlanta and Jacksonville this year have about the same number of scoring opportunities. Atlanta probably slightly edges them out just because the deep bombs to Calvin Ridley. And that's in all honesty. And plus, the way Urban Meyer talks about it, Etienne's going to be a 3rd-down back. I don't believe that at all. I do believe Etienne becomes a 3-down back, not the 3rd-down back. But starting out, I do think that they're going to try to figure out how to use them, and it'll be a little bit of a struggle for them.
Yeah, I think we're getting lost in the weeds here. But anyways, Mike Davis is a sneaky pick. I think so. If you can get him later in the drafts, like I said, if he can fall to you in the 7th, that's great value. There's no way that you're going to beat that value with who's probably going to be left around there. You're talking maybe you get like a Tyler Lockett or a Mike Davis, which in a balanced draft, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Mike Davis as a 3-down running back that can fill in for an injury that's going to happen on your team for sure? Or would you rather have Tyler Lockett? I think Tyler Lockett falls there too.
It all kind of just depends on how the team is, how my team's constructed.
Just a balanced roster. You have a balanced.
But that doesn't matter to me when you say balanced roster. I need to know specifically who my first 2 running backs off the board are, who my first 2 wide receivers. Do I have a tight end at this point in time? Do I not have one of the big 3 tight ends at this point in time? You know what I mean? It all kind of just depends. Because if I have, a Zeke and a Najee, for example, and then a Calvin Ridley. I won't use Calvin Ridley. A.J. Brown and an Amari Cooper. Am I taking Mike Davis or Tyler Lockett? I'm probably going to take Mike Davis just because there's not very many running backs that are going to be left that are going to actually be able to be a plug-and-play player week in, week out.
I think that if you get him later in the draft, I think that's pretty good value.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've consistently seen him fall around the 6th round, though. So I think your 7th round, 8th round, you have to get extremely lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying you wouldn't. Yeah,
I don't think the trade doesn't help Matt Ryan, which I wouldn't draft Matt Ryan for fantasy purposes as a quarterback, anyways. Do you have anything else for the Falcons?
Nope. Just don't draft Matt Ryan. Don't think that you can stream him. Don't think that you can use him. He's a year older without Julio Jones, and he's proven that he cannot play at a viable level in fantasy without Julio Jones.
Fair. Ready to do the Panthers?
Yep, let's keep moving.
All right. So they obviously got Sam Darnold in the offseason. They waited till after the draft to pick up his fifth-year option, so everyone was kind of wondering what was going on there. But do you think, personally, for fantasy purposes, is Sam Darnold going to be better for the Panthers than Teddy Bridgewater?
Yes, I think so.
You do? Okay. Do you think he comes... Go ahead.
I think Sam Darnold instantly, when he got to Carolina, became a streaming option, whereas I don't think Teddy Bridgewater ever really was. Like, maybe you can plug him in if you're in a 12-man with a bunch of dudes that have two quarterbacks in the roster. Maybe you can plug him in. But Sam Darnold, I mean, he could pan out to be a pretty decent quarterback coming into this season. I really like the move. I like that Sam Darnold's getting another shot. I like the receiving core they have with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. I like that. No, Curtis Samuel, I think, does kind of hurt their offense as a whole a little bit, but they weren't really using him effectively that much until later on in the season last season. So maybe they just didn't know what they had there. And then you're going to add in Christian McCaffrey coming back. So that's
okay.
A lot of pieces better than what Sam Darnold ever had in New York. And to couple that with he doesn't have Adam Gase. So you know that anybody leaving Adam Gase, automatic bump. They're going up a couple tiers.
So that leads me into my next question for you. What does Terrence Marshall Jr., because obviously they drafted him, what does that mean for DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson? And do you think... Actually, go ahead and answer that, and then I'll continue the second part of this question.
I think I know where you're going with it. Like, who would I feel comfortable with as probably my receiver 2? That's who is the receiver 1 on that team, and who is the person I'd be comfortable with on my team heading into this season. I would have to lean DJ Moore just because you've seen a little bit more out of him than you did. Now, I understand that Robbie Anderson had a better season than him fantasy-wise last season. I get that. But I also think that
DJ
Sam
Moore also
Darnold
didn't score.
That's what I'm saying. I think Sam Darnold's probably going to not so much rely on only Robbie Anderson coming into the season. Although they did play together, Robbie Anderson in New York did not have a threat that is like DJ Moore. DJ Moore's a talented receiver that just hasn't had a great quarterback.
I mean, to be fair, they were both 1,000-yard receivers last year with Teddy B.
Yeah. It wasn't
where do you
a
think
big
Terrence
split.
Marshall fits in, though? You think he rotates in as a 3, running slot routes, or what do you think happens?
He would be a big slot. I don't know.
That's like Larry Fitzgerald, though. I mean, as soon as Larry Fitzgerald went to the slot, he was great for football and fantasy football purposes.
I would think that DJ Moore would probably fit that mold a little better than him, though. They're probably going to be interchangeable throughout that. Yeah. With Robbie Anderson probably sticking at the X.
That's the thing, though, is like with all 3 of these receivers, any one of them could literally run the X. It doesn't matter. They're all interchangeable, which is what's weird to me. So, with that being said, who do you think is Darnold's number 1 wide receiver this year?
DJ Moore.
You think so? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
After this season, maybe Terrace Marshall takes a step. Maybe. But he's got to beat out 2 bona fide NFL receivers to get there. Now, I do like him going. I do like that pick for them. They needed another option. One of those guys goes down, Terrace Marshall steps in, you might not ever see him come off the field again. So I don't know. He was one of my favorite receivers coming out of last year's draft. Him and Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things is where it's a real football move, but in the draft, as far as fantasy wise, it's not something you wanted to see.
Yeah, because
it kind of makes it murky.
And they don't really have a tight end that I care about that would be there to snatch any targets away from Terrace Marshall. But I will say that the target share is going to get slanted a little bit a lot, because Christian McCaffrey is coming back into the offense. You want to get Christian McCaffrey the ball as many times as possible. Who do you take number 1 in drafts?
Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
Or Dalvin Cook has made his argument.
Who do you take? You're number 1 right now. Number 1 overall. Who do you take?
101 on the clock, CMC.
I do the same thing. There's no way that I'm not taking CMC. That's it. He's going to be too involved in the game, and that's all there is to it. So
Yep.
if you're number 1 overall, take him. If he fell to you the number 2 overall, great. If he fell to you in number 3, what league are you in? Tell me, please.
I don't know.
Leave in the comments, guys.
So we're talking about CMC right now, right? So obviously, with Carolina having to get him the ball so much in years past, it's caused, obviously for him to get hurt. It's going to be like that for anybody. No one is going to be able to take that much workload and not break down over the course of the season. If Christian McCaffrey goes down this year, you had better spend at least 60% of your fab on Chuba Hubbard.
Yep.
I might
go all in.
He's a better version of Mike Davis, and Mike Davis was very, very viable last year for Carolina after Christian McCaffrey went down.
Especially, I think, because of where you probably drafted him was nowhere. You might have got him off of free agency, and you got lucky because you took him, like, I don't know, the first week or something like that, grabbed him up.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he's a handcuff.
Yep.
He was a handcuff. Chuba Hubbard is a handcuff, too. I'd like to just point that out. He is a handcuff. A very, very late round handcuff, but a handcuff nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll talk more about it when we get closer to playoffs and stuff. But when fantasy playoffs are about to start, that's when you drop all the people who aren't going to play for you and you start picking up handcuffs. But anyways, but yeah,
I'd like to have a handcuff episode. Maybe we'll throw that in there.
We can do that.
Write that down in the chat, huh? Write that down in the chat.
We can do that, but yeah, just pay attention to CMC, and if he does end up happening, I hope it doesn't happen, but injuries are inevitable. He will be someone you will definitely want to pay up for.
Yes, agreed. I think that's pretty much it for the Panthers. Really, I will say that them getting Jace Horn, that's a good pick. I like that. I like Jace Horn a lot.
Yeah, their defense will be, ever since they lost Luke Kuechly. I mean, it's hard to replace someone like that.
Very true. Their defense will be improved this year.
The staple of your defense, yeah. But their defense will be improved, but I still don't think that it'll be like how it used to be. The Panthers' defense of past.
No, because you think who they'll
be middle of the pack. I probably wouldn't draft them for a defense for me. They'll be outside of the top 10. So
if you're at the point where you're thinking about taking Carolina as your defense, just stream defenses. Don't waste a pick on drafting the Carolina Panthers defense. Don't do that.
Yeah. Stream defenses. You always have that one defense who surprises. Last year it was like the football team. 2 years ago it was New England's defense. Everyone thought after the first 5 games of the season they were just done, and then all of a sudden they come back to just be awesome. But anyways, do you want to do the Bucks or the Saints next?
Let's go into the Bucks. To the Bucks, I think it's
the returning Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with TB12 at the helm of the ship. They returned all 22 starters. All 22 people who helped them win a Super Bowl are back to try to repeat. How do you feel about that?
I want to start off just so that we're clear. Everybody get your notepads out. You can mark the timestamp here. 10 o'clock on Father's Day. This is the day that you heard for a fact Tom Brady's wheels are falling off. That's it. They're falling off this year. It's happening. Write it down.
Like a Drew Brees / Peyton Manning type of fall off year?
Yes.
That bad?
Yes. It already happened.
Dude threw 40 touchdowns last year.
The wheels already fell off right at the end of the season last season. They already fell off.
Are you talking about the NFC Championship game?
I sure am.
I'm
talking about the Super Bowl too.
Open wounds.
He didn't look good in either game.
What do you mean, bro?
His arm looks like a bag of wet noodles getting slung around. Around.
I can show you one highlight specifically at the very end of the second quarter in the NFC Championship game where his arm doesn't look like a limp noodle.
Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to be that person?
It hurts me to
why do you
say
be that
it,
person?
but
why?
I think Tom Brady has one more year. I think he's
I
still.
don't.
I don't think he's old school Tom Brady this year, but I do think that he's a 30 touchdown type of passer.
What do you do with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette? What do you do?
You wait for him to fall to you really late at the end of the drafts and take your pick on who you think you want.
Who do you want more?
Ronald Jones. Just for the big playability.
Even though they heavily relied on Leonard Fournette going into the playoffs.
Yeah, 100% I agree. But Ronald Jones also had like a 90-yard touchdown run that year. So the explosiveness is there for him. I don't think it is for Leonard Fournette.
It's so hard for me to decide which. I put in the doc that I'd rather have Ronald Jones. I would. But only because he's younger.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not that much younger than Leonard Fournette. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really want to rely on either one of them if I don't have to. If one of them is your flex or you're on your roster flex where he would be put into that position, I guess I'm not mad at it because there will be one running back out of this running back room that's going to be super fantasy viable. It's going to happen. Ronald Jones was the guy last year. You think it's going to think it could change? I don't know. Such murky water that I don't think I'd really want to tip my toes in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean Bruce Arians and his whole system kind of always been like that. He never really gives anybody a shot. But if it's me and I'm taking a shot, it's going to be Ronald Jones late. But who knows? Leonard Fournette could surprise you and come out and be the pass catching running back, even though he's never really supposed to have been that.
That's what they think he is. I don't know.
OJ Howard will be back next year.
Mm-hmm.
So
another guy I don't care about.
Even though they re-signed Gronk, they're both not going to be worth it.
Nope. Stay away from Gronk. Stay away from Brady. Stay away from.
Stay away from Brady.
I would stay away from Brady.
Boy.
That's for me. I'm gonna just tell you right now.
Boy, I don't know about that. And then Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. They're going pretty similar in drafts. Who you got?
I'm gonna take Chris Godwin.
Why?
I truly think that because the wheels are falling off, this is happening, that Chris Godwin being the short yardage receiver in that offense is probably going to be happening. Not, what is that dude's name that we were just talking about, the guy that caught the ball at the end of the second? What is that guy's name? Number
Scotty
10
Miller.
for the Bucs. Scotty Miller. It's not going to be Scotty Miller. Sorry, Scotty Miller truthers. It'll be Chris Godwin. He'll be soaking up a lot more targets. He'll be healthier this season. I think that he was supposed to have supplanted Mike Evans going into this season, but he got hurt. So, I don't know. But I probably already know what side of the argument you're going to be taking here. I would rather have Chris Godwin. So go ahead, Aaron.
I can get it. I can see where you're coming from. He's younger. He's supposed to be, like you said, supplanting Mike Evans. But if the wheels are falling off like you think, I'm going to take the known commodity of the veteran wide receiver who 7 years in and 7 years out is a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. Mike Evans, week 2 last year, had 2 receptions for 4 yards for 2 touchdowns. Everyone thought that he was going to be a bust that game, and they thought, oh, crap, I lost because of this. And dude comes out and just catches 2 touchdown passes inside the 5-yard line. If they're down in the red zone like that, that's what they're going to do is throw Mike Evans a jump ball. So I think he has higher upside, touchdown potential upside. Sorry, my shoulder itches. And then he's always been a 1,000-yard receiver, even with Jameis, even with Tom Brady for the first year. We're talking about wide receivers twos. Excuse me, I cannot speak. Wide receiver twos here. You know what I mean? Between Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who do you want as your wide receiver 2? I'm gonna take Mike Evans, strictly for the known of, all right, he's at least gonna get me 1,000 yards a season. You know what I mean? Might be a bumpy ride to get there, but at the end of the year, you're not gonna be as disappointed.
I'll throw in a caveat here just to make sure that maybe a little more context behind it. If, for happen's sake, if Mike Evans ends up being your pick for your receiver one on your roster, that's probably when I would, if it was between Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and that was like your receiver one, and it was one of those two, I'm probably going to want to take Mike Evans because he's safer, I think, than Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin has shown that he can be injured 2 times out of the 2 times that he's been viable. So 2 seasons out of 2 seasons. So I think that Mike Evans is probably the more safe option. But I'm here to take risks. That's why I want Chris Godwin.
Oh, it feels good to be right. Anyways, you got anything else on the Bucks?
Nope, not at all. Don't draft Antonio Brown.
You're frozen, buddy.
Oh, hang on.
Yep.
Good to go?
Yep. Good.
Cool. Sorry, technical difficulties.
You're good. You want to start off with the Saints?
Sure. So I think Taysom Hill is going to be the starter in the Saints.
I agree.
Starting off hot, right then and there.
I think most people think that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think most people around the fantasy football industry have statted the Saints out as Taysom being the starter. However, caveat: hopefully, Jameis Winston's LASIK surgery went really, really well. Hopefully, he can see now because Jameis is a gunslinger, right? He's gonna throw the football. Whereas Taysom Hill last year in the 4 games we saw, he started out as primary a rusher. And he got a little more comfortable with passing the ball towards the end of that 4-game stretch last year. But everyone gets an uptick in targets if Jameis is under center. I think everyone knows that, right? I'm just common knowledge right there. However, I
would like to see Jameis as a starter.
I personally would too, but I do think Taysom is the starter, as you said, simply because they paid him so much money. And I personally think the only reason they paid him so much money is because they don't know if he's a tight end, if he's a quarterback, if he's a running back, if he's a special teams player. They just gave him money for everything that he's done on the offense so far, rather than actually evaluating him at quarterback and paying him as a quarterback.
Yeah, the money makes me think that he's going to be the starter. And the fact that when the opportunity arose last season, without an offense installed for either one of the two, Jameis was not the starter.
Because I feel like that was because it was Jameis's first year in the system.
I still don't know if... I don't know. Jameis should have been the starter last season. If he was going to be this season, he would have been last season. That's how I think.
I don't think so.
I do. That's how I see it.
So, I could see that, but like I said, I just don't think Jameis has the capability to learn a playbook that quick. For being 100% honest.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. What do you do with Thomas? What do you do with Kamara?
Michael Thomas.
Taysom is the starter. Let's say that. Let's just go off of that right then and there.
Michael Thomas is obviously going to be the number one, primary read on that team. Number one in targets. He has been. He will be. That will continue. However, I don't think Taysom Hill targets are as valuable as Drew Brees targets. Michael Thomas falls into the high-end wide receiver 2 range for me.
Off sheer volume alone.
Sheer quality of targets alone.
I think that's where he finishes just because of the amount of volume he's going to get. Even though they're going to be, slant boy. So even though they're going to be quick slants.
He will throw hands
pitches,
with you if you call him that to his face.
Yeah, he's going to throw hands. But that's what it is. It is what it is. He runs posts too, I think, somewhere in his route tree.
And then as far as Kamara goes, he'll get a lot of dump offs, and Kamara is still high value to me. Personally, he'll get a lot of dump offs, and then I think in the red zone he'll still get work. You did see Taysom Hill, like I said, especially the first game he played in last year, Kamara's value exponentially. He basically disappeared because Taysom just held everything himself. But I think that's just because he needed time to get comfortable. You know what I mean? and build up that confidence. So I do think Kamara it'll go back to he'll be the first kind of read in like RPOs and things like that, just because he's that good.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to take first? You're going to take Saquon or are you going to take Kamara?
Dang.
Toughie.
I'd probably say Kamara.
I would too. They're going to rely on that too much. How about Derrick Henry or Alvin Kamara?
Derrick Henry.
How about Nick Chubb or Alvin Kamara?
Kamara, just simply because don't get me wrong, Nick Chubb is probably the best or the second best pure rusher in the NFL. But he doesn't catch very many targets. But Kamara obviously has big play capability. He's a great runner, and he's a great pass catcher. So strictly for the pass catching upside, I would take Kamara over Chubb.
Trying to think of it. Would you? Oh, I guess Zeke is falling too low to me even match him up right there, because Zeke's going to fall to like the end of your first. It's crazy to me. Wild.
Yep.
Maybe,
I got one for you.
One more.
What's
go
up?
ahead. Good.
No, go ahead. You got one more comp?
Yep.
Go ahead.
How about Aaron Jones or Alvin Kamara?
With or without Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers is there.
Kamara, because I think Aaron Jones is still Alvin Kamara light.
Okay. That's all I had. That was the last one.
So, is there a number 2 receiving option in New Orleans? Would you say the number? Would you say the number? Would you say target order goes Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara,
and then Traquan Smith?
Do you think Traquan Smith finally takes a step forward?
No.
You don't think so? Especially with quarterback play going down.
Yeah, not with Taysom Hill, not with Jameis Winston. No.
So essentially, outside of Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, you're no one else from the Saints for fantasy purposes.
What is the tight end's name that's there?
Adam Troutman.
There it is. Maybe Adam Troutman. Super late. Maybe.
I did.
If you punted all of the tight end position completely, and he was your last pick, and you wanted to see what you had week 1, and if he wasn't anything, you already punted the position. So
that's fair.
Why not give the chance to somebody that doesn't really have any other competition there, doesn't really have any other receiving options outside of, Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara? Maybe he might be something. Maybe. And if he's not, he didn't cost you anything. Last pick of the draft.
That's fair. I think best ball purposes, I would trade, because best ball is like 20 something rounds.
Yeah.
I would probably take Traquan Smith just to see, because obviously you're getting that week where if he catches 2 deep bomb touchdowns, he's going to be in your starting lineup for best ball purposes. I would probably only look at him for best ball to go back to it, but that's about it. Got anything else on the Saints?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, the South is a pretty quick division. Really, the only team that you're gonna want fantasy players from are going to be mainly the Bucks,
or the Falcons.
Calvin Ridley is really probably, and yeah, you're right. Actually, here I am talking all this
value
trash.
from all these.
There is actual value from all of these teams. Yeah. Do you want to go division projections?
Yeah, let's do that real fast. Can we start it off?
Oh, yeah. I just saw your projections. Start off with whatever team you want.
Let's go from the bottom.
Okay.
I feel like I'm super high, and then I see what you did, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not that high. Maybe I am high, but not that high. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
7-10 for Atlanta. I think that's probably 2 wins too high.
2 wins too high?
It's 2 wins.
Change it right now.
I'll put it in there. I when I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't like that.
You're
at all.
having them as a 5-12 team?
Yes.
All right, you're 5-12. I am 7-10, and I am keeping mine at 7-10 because it is the NFL, and on any given week, anybody can do anything. And you have to think, outside of 3 teams, everyone goes pretty close to 500 most of the time.
Atlanta's going to be one of those 3 teams.
You think so? You think back-to-back
Yes.
years they're just top 4 picks?
Yes.
Okay, I could see. I mean, honestly, I could see that. I'm giving them
I mean,
benefit of the
this
doubt.
year.
I'm giving them the
with
benefit of the
Julio
doubt, though. That is fair. Well, Julio was out for
and
half
Todd
of the
Gurley.
season. You mean the skeleton, the shell of Todd Gurley?
Todd Gurley right now or Mike Davis? Who would you take?
Mike Davis. Todd Gurley had a quick rise to the top, boy, but he fell just as hard.
Jeez, could you imagine saying that like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
No, everyone would
Could
think
you
you're
imagine?
freaking crazy, dude. Like, if I were to tell you, hey, I'm going to trade you Todd Gurley for 2 back-to-back first-round rookie picks, like consecutive years, plus someone would have jumped on that in a heartbeat, right?
Yep, I guarantee that happened somewhere.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the rise to the top for running backs is quick, but the fall off is just as quick. David Johnson.
David Johnson was still viable though last. Well, I guess Todd Gurley was viable last year for half.
That's
the
what
season.
that's what I'm saying though. But then all it takes is a couple injuries, man, or an injury, and you're just done. All right. Anyways, we're getting off the rails again.
Yeah.
So
Carolina,
you have Atlanta
7-10.
5-12, and I have Atlanta 7-10. You have Carolina what?
7-10.
I have them 8-9.
I got him 7-10. I think it's going to be a little bit of growing pains for Sam Darnold. Like I said, it's a good move, but he's still got to learn this system. He's still got to get comfortable in the system, and I think that their defense just isn't there yet. But they're on the rise.
Yep, that was my point for the whole 8-9 thing. I think that they do well on the offensive side of the ball. I do think Matt Rule, his second year as an NFL head coach, I think he will pick it up as far as a coaching perspective, but I think that their defense is still going to struggle this year.
What about Tampa Bay?
I have Tampa Bay at 12-5. I have Tampa Bay winning the division.
Do you now?
I do. I have them winning the division again. I don't think that they win the Super Bowl, but they do make the playoffs as the division lead. And they lose 5 games, obviously, because they're going to get everybody's best shot. It's just what happens when you win a Super Bowl. But I don't think that Tom Brady's falling off like you do. I think he might have a decline, but I don't think it's going to be as steep as as you are projecting it to be.
Oh, I think it's going to be real steep, Aaron.
So you have Tampa Bay as
9-8.
Are they the division winner for you?
They are not. that kind of leaves out who it is.
Yep.
But Tampa Bay going 9-8, and this is why their defense is going to get them there. Their defense didn't get any worse. You got it stayed the same. Maybe if Ndamukong Suh falls off, but maybe Jason Pierre-Paul falls off. Their team is older. They have an older team in general.
You saw what that defense did last year, though. Those linebackers are fast, boy. Fast.
But 9-8. I think their defense gets in there. I think Tom Brady can get them a couple wins, but you're going to see the wheels fall off very, very soon.
Man, I hope people just chime in all year long when he's just torching people. But anyways,
so I got New Orleans finishing up this divisional breakdown and these projections at 10-7. The only reason I'm saying that is because now you've had an entire offseason of getting a system in place for Taysom Hill.
Yep,
getting
I have
a system in place for Alvin Kamara. Their defense was great last year.
Yeah, that is true.
Great.
Yeah, I have them at 9-8 strictly because, like you said, anything and everything is going to be a tier down from Drew Brees. Obviously, he's one of the greatest of all time. Their defense, as you said, was great last year, but I feel like with only having 2 viable options for not only fantasy but real football as well, I think that their offense can be shut down quickly if it needed to be from a opposing defense. So
very true.
But any other topics on this one?
Nope, that's it.
Well, guys, as always, please give us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we post new videos. Leave us a comment in the bottom if one of these 4 teams are your teams, or if you just want to say your take on it. And as always, guys, we will see you guys next time.